Well, the weather is getting warmer, but at night there is still a chill. And for many people, there is nothing more cozy than slipping into a bed warmed by an electric blanket. Almost every one of the 30 million electric blankets in this country is made by just one company, Sunbeam. And Sunbeam insists its electric blankets are safe when they are used correctly. But are they safe enough? Arnold Diaz reports on a disturbing number of serious fires suspected of having one thing in common, an electric blanket. And he introduces us to survivors who say they were lucky to get out alive.
Investigators say it was an electric blanket that started this fire in California 2 years ago. And in Pittsburgh last year, this Sunbeam electric blanket caught fire in the middle of the night.
I thought I was burning up. I thought my house was burning down.
Louise Hull's house did burn down in Oklahoma, and her grandson was killed. Her Sunbeam electric blanket is the suspected cause.
It was just a tragedy, and I'll never get over it. Ever, ever.
There are an estimated 30 million Sunbeam electric blankets in American homes. Now serious questions are being raised about the safety of many of those blankets, about whether or not they have potentially deadly built-in defects. Sunbeam says their blankets are thoroughly tested, exceed industry standards, and are safe when used properly. But just 3 months ago, a California jury slapped the company with a $6 million verdict. Brian Bruno, Gary Fong, and Ron Banning were on the jury.
And what did you find out about electric blankets during this trial?
As far as I'm concerned, they're unsafe. To me, it's like playing Russian roulette.
The blanket is not safe.
The blanket is not safe.
So you became convinced by the evidence at the trial that Sunbeam was knowingly putting out a defective product?
Yes.
The verdict came in a lawsuit brought by Glenn and Carol Wellman of Northern California.
So you considered the electric blanket a totally safe product?
Yes. I had faith, and especially faith in Sunbeam, that this was a good product.
The Wellmans thought an electric blanket was a great idea. A lot of people do. It's a popular gift item. After all you do is flip a switch, and in just a few minutes you're warm and cozy. But you may not have given much thought to just what's inside that blanket you're sleeping under, how it works, and what could go wrong. Sunbeam's electric blankets contain up to 100 feet of special wiring called PTC that generates heat as electricity flows through it. In the event of a wiring problem, such as a break or short, the blankets also have a built-in safety circuit. It's supposed to detect the problem, causing a tiny tube inside it to activate, like you see in this slow-motion video, and blow the fuse. Then the blanket shuts off before a fire can occur. But the Wellmans claim the safety circuit didn't work.
I awoke to a flash of light, and there were flames at the foot of the bed.
The electric blanket was on fire?
Yes, it was.
And what'd you do?
Well, I screamed at him first to get him up, and then as I was getting up, I tore the blankets off the bed and threw them at the foot of the bed on the floor to try to smother out the flames. That didn't work very well.
At trial, Sunbeam blamed the fire on the Wellmans, pointing out the couple failed to follow instructions by tucking the power cord between the mattress and the bed frame. Sunbeam claimed that damaged the cord. But the Wellmans expert denied the cord was damaged, and these jurors say they didn't believe it either.
We examined the evidence, examined the power cord. There was no abuse of the power cord. They used the electric blanket like any other normal consumer would use it.
These jurors say the evidence they saw convinced them the fire was caused by the combination of a short in the blanket's internal wiring and an inadequate safety circuit.
It started in the wiring?
Yes, yes indeed.
And you think this was a failure of the safety circuit to detect that?
That's correct, yes.
At trial, the jury heard testimony given in an earlier case by former Sunbeam engineer Bill Rowe, who says he warned the company more than 15 years ago that the safety circuits were unreliable.
This is definitely not a fail-safe safety circuit.
It's not?
No, it is not a fail-safe safety circuit.
Bill Rowe helped design the wiring for the blanket in the early 80s and voiced his concerns about the safety circuit in this confidential memo he wrote in 1983.
I sat down and looked at what we were making, a new blanket. I looked at what I figured the failure rate on it was going to be, what was going to happen. And I wrote them that letter because I didn't feel that the blanket was ready for production.
Sunbeam says Rowe is a disgruntled former employee who's not qualified to criticize its safety circuits. The company says it's made a number of safety improvements to the blanket since 1983, to the power cord, the wiring, and the safety circuit. But these jurors say more was needed.
The improvements we saw was not improvements enough to make it fail-safe.
Rowe agrees. He took apart a brand new blanket and said the safety circuit is still not good enough. You see the same problems today as you saw in 1983.
Absolutely.
In addition, the jurors heard testimony that the safety circuit is not even able to detect shorts in the part of the blanket where the Wellman said the fire started.
So this is what you woke up to?
Yes, fire at the edge of the bed. The fire burned through the mattress and through the box springs. I think that there was a short in the PTC wire near the foot of the bed or near the end of the blanket, and that their safety mechanism did not sense it.
Sunbeam has said in court that when it rewired the blankets in the early 90s in response to concerns about electromagnetic fields, an unintended result was reduced protection. The safety circuit, even if it works as intended, now cannot detect shorts beyond about the first 50 feet of wire inside the blanket. Since many blankets have up to 100 feet of wire inside, that can leave half the blanket with reduced protection. The jurors say they considered that a major flaw.
If the safety circuit works, it should, I believe, kill the power, but it doesn't work all the time. It doesn't have the total effective range of detection through the blanket. You don't have that. If something goes wrong beyond that, the whole system fails.
Sunbeam says the entire blanket is protected against a complete break in the wiring and has insisted the reduced protection against short circuits wasn't a problem because it had never seen such a short. But the Wellman's expert testified the cause of that fire was a short beyond the first 50 feet, outside the range of the safety circuit.
Sunbeam needs to make some changes in their blanket configuration so that they can be safely put on people's beds.
The Wellman's fire is not an isolated case. In the past 8 years, more than 100 lawsuits have been filed against Sunbeam in connection with electric blanket fires, blamed on a variety of problems. And 2020's learned the Consumer Product Safety Commission is now investigating at least 137 blanket incidents in a 4-year period. Sunbeam says its electric blankets are safe, and the company believes all the fires that have resulted in injuries were the result of consumer misuse. But how does that explain a blanket catching fire the first time it's used?
Brand new, straight out of the plastic box.
David Hamilton says his 12-year-old son Jeffrey had turned on the new electric throw blanket, and minutes later it began smoldering and then burst into flames.
And it scared me when I saw the kids lying under it. I reached down and I just quickly picked the blanket up to get it off of them because I thought they were terribly hurt. And when I did, it ignited.
Fortunately, there was only a minor injury, and Hamilton sent the burned blanket to Sunbeam. But the company had it for more than a year before they examined it, and then only after 2020 asked them to. Just last month, Sunbeam concluded the fire was caused by a short circuit where the wire meets the terminal, again beyond the first 50 feet of wire.
I didn't realize there was a problem with these things, and nobody came back to say they were sorry or they might be a problem.
Sunbeam says it's now in the process of examining other blankets involved in fires, and the company is cooperating with the CPSC's ongoing investigation. Sunbeam says to avoid injuries, consumers should follow the blanket's instructions to keep from damaging the wiring. Meanwhile, there are an estimated 30 million Sunbeam electric blankets currently in people's homes, many with safety circuits that may leave half the blanket with reduced protection. These California jurors say their $6 million judgment was intended as a wake-up call to Sunbeam.
Well, the blankets they're making right now, I wouldn't trust them. And I think they need to, I think they need to redesign the whole shooting match.
Again, it's like playing Russian roulette or just a crapshoot. But again, you still come to the same conclusion. Representations were made it's a safe product. You know, from the information we had and the evidence, we don't believe so.
Right on top here.
Sunbeam declined our repeated requests for an on-camera interview. The company is appealing the $6 million verdict in the Wellman case, and it's also being sued in 2 of the other cases we told you about. This California fire and the fire that killed Louise Hull's grandson in Oklahoma. The company denies its blanket was responsible for either fire.